My husband's lawyer called me adorable. That's the word he used, adorable, when I stood up from the respondent's table without counsel. The entire courtroom rippled with quiet laughter. My husband adjusted his tie and whispered something to his attorney, and they both grinned like they'd already won. The judge hadn't even spoken yet. But I wasn't nervous. Not anymore. Because I knew something none of them did. Let me take you back to where it started. I met my husband when I was 24. I'd just finished my nursing degree and landed my first full-time position at a hospital in Charlotte. He was 31, already a rising VP at a commercial real estate firm. Charming, confident, the kind of man who opened every door and remembered every name. Our first date lasted 5 hours. By our 3rd month together, he told me I was the best thing that ever happened to him. By our 6th month, he proposed. I said yes before he finished the sentence. We bought a house in Myers Park, a 4-bedroom colonial with a wraparound porch and a magnolia tree in the front yard. His name and mine, both on the deed. He handled the finances because he said it made sense. He was the one with the business degree. He was the one who understood investments and interest rates and tax brackets. I was the one who worked 12-hour night shifts and came home smelling like antiseptic and exhaustion. So I let him manage the money. I signed where he told me to sign. I trusted him completely. For 6 years, that trust felt like the foundation of our marriage. Then the cracks started. It began small. Late nights at the office that stretched past midnight. Business trips that suddenly required weekends. He started password protecting his phone, something he'd never done before. When I asked about it, he laughed and said I was being paranoid. "You're tired," he told me. "You're working too many shifts. You're imagining things." I wanted to believe him. So I did. The night everything shattered was a Tuesday in March. I picked up an extra shift because one of my colleagues had a family emergency. I worked from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., 16 hours on my feet, and drove home through gray morning rain with my eyes barely open. When I pulled into the driveway, something was wrong. My key didn't work. I tried it again. Turned it left, turned it right. Nothing. I stepped back and looked at the lock. It was new. Brass. Shiny. Freshly installed. I pressed the doorbell. No answer. I called his phone. Straight to voicemail. I walked around to the back door. Same thing. New lock. No entry. That's when I saw the boxes. 3 cardboard boxes stacked against the side of the house, half covered by a tarp. My clothes were folded inside. My shoes. My nursing textbooks. A framed photo of my parents. My jewelry box with the clasp broken. Everything I owned, packed up and set outside like bulk trash waiting for pickup. I stood there in the rain, holding a broken jewelry box, still wearing my scrubs. I called him again. This time he answered. "I changed the locks," he said. No greeting, no hesitation. "What are you talking about?" "I filed for divorce yesterday. My attorney says it's cleaner if we separate immediately. You can stay with a friend or get a hotel. I'll have someone bring the rest of your things." I couldn't breathe. "You changed the locks on our house? My name is on the deed." "My lawyer's handling that. You'll get the paperwork." "Who does this? Who locks their wife out at 6 in the morning?" He sighed like I was wasting his time. "I did not want a scene, Elena. I'm trying to make this easy." "Easy for who?" He hung up. I sat in my car for 45 minutes. Rain hammered the windshield. I called my mother, but she didn't pick up. She was 3 states away and it was still early. I called my friend Adrian, who told me to come straight to her apartment. I drove there in a daze, my scrubs still damp, my hand shaking on the steering wheel. At Adrian's kitchen table, with a cup of coffee I couldn't drink. I tried to make sense of what had just happened. 6 years of marriage. No warning. No conversation. No counseling, no argument, no gradual unraveling. Just new locks and cardboard boxes. 2 days later, the divorce papers arrived. His attorney was a man named Victor Haynes, polished, expensive, the kind of lawyer whose office probably had original artwork on the walls. The filing was aggressive. He wanted the house. He wanted the car. He wanted to keep every investment account. His position was simple. He earned the money, he managed the assets, and I contributed nothing of financial significance to the marriage. The proposed settlement offered me $8,000. $8,000 for 6 years. That's roughly $3.65 per day of marriage, in case anyone's wondering. I called 3 divorce attorneys. The first wanted a $10,000 retainer. The second wanted 12. The third said my case was complicated and she'd need to review financials before quoting a fee, but it wouldn't be cheap. I had $4,000 in a personal savings account he apparently hadn't found. That was it. He'd frozen our joint accounts the day he filed. He knew exactly what he was doing. He'd planned this. Probably for months. The thing is, my husband made one critical mistake. He assumed that because I let him manage the money, I didn't understand it. He assumed that because I'm a nurse, I couldn't read a balance sheet. He assumed that because I trusted him, I was stupid. I wasn't stupid. I was exhausted and heartbroken and blindsided. But I wasn't stupid. Here's what he didn't know. For the past 2 years, I'd been filing our taxes, not preparing them. His accountant did that, but I was the one who organized the documents every spring. W-2s, 1099s, mortgage statements, investment summaries. I scanned everything into a shared cloud folder because I liked keeping things organized. It was the nurse in me. Everything documented, everything filed, everything backed up. He forgot about that cloud folder. Or maybe he never thought I'd look at what was inside. I looked. What I found made me sit down and read for 6 straight hours. Our mortgage had been refinanced 3 times in 4 years. Each time, he'd pulled out equity, a total of $410,000. The signatures on the refinancing documents were mine. Except I'd never signed them. I'd never even seen them. My husband had forged my signature to drain the equity from our home. But that wasn't all. The money from those refinances had been funneled into a company I'd never heard of. Pinnacle South Holdings, LLC. I searched the state's business registry. The company was registered to my husband and a woman named Jade Calloway. I didn't recognize the name, so I searched further. Jade Calloway had been listed as a consultant on 3 of my husband's real estate projects over the past 2 years. She was also, according to social media, his girlfriend. Photos of them at restaurants, at the beach, at a resort in the Bahamas. During one of his business trips, I printed everything. Every document, every screenshot, every financial record. Then I organized it the way I organize patient charts, chronological, annotated, cross-referenced, 147 pages. I couldn't afford a lawyer. So I decided to represent myself. I spent every free moment for the next 6 weeks learning family law. I read statutes, watched legal tutorials, studied court procedures. Adrian thought I was losing my mind. "You can't go up against Victor Haynes by yourself," she said. "He's been doing this for 20 years. "Then he's never seen someone like me," I told her. The morning of the hearing, I put on the one suit I owned, a navy blazer and gray slacks I'd bought for a hospital fundraiser 2 years ago. I drove to the Mecklenburg County Courthouse with my binder of evidence in the passenger seat, organized with color-coded tabs. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. My husband was already there, sitting at the petitioner's table with Victor Haynes. He was wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my car payment. When he saw me walk in alone, he leaned over to his lawyer and said something that made them both smile. I took my seat at the respondent's table. Just me, my binder, and a glass of water. The judge entered, the Honorable Ruth O'Coffer, a woman in her early 60s, with reading glasses perched on the bridge of her nose, and an expression that suggested she did not tolerate nonsense. She reviewed the case file, looked at the petitioner's table, then looked at mine. "Ms. Marsh, I see you're appearing pro se today. Do you understand that you have the right to legal representation?" "I do, Your Honor. I've chosen to represent myself." Victor Haynes stood. "Your Honor, if I may. The respondent has no legal training and no experience in family court. We'd request that the court note this for the record, as it may affect the efficiency of these proceedings." The judge looked at him over her glasses. "Mr. Haynes, The respondent's right to self-representation is constitutionally protected. I'll decide what affects the efficiency of my courtroom. Please sit down. He sat. My husband glanced at me with that look, the one I'd seen 1,000 times. The one that said, "You're out of your depth. You don't understand how this works." I opened my binder. Victor Haynes presented his case first. It was exactly what I expected. He painted my husband as the breadwinner, the provider, the architect of our financial stability. He argued that I'd contributed minimally to the household's economic growth. He cited my nursing salary, $62,000 a year, versus my husband's income, which he reported as $190,000. He requested that my husband retain the house, the investment accounts, and both vehicles. He offered me a revised settlement of $12,000. $12,000. He'd gone up $4,000 since the initial filing, probably hoping I'd take it out of desperation. When it was my turn, I stood up slowly. "Your Honor, I'd like to submit Exhibit A, a set of mortgage documents related to the property at 1847 Wisteria Lane, Myers Park." I handed the documents to the clerk, who passed them to the judge. Victor Haynes frowned. My husband shifted in his seat. "These documents show that the home was refinanced 3 times between 2022 and 2027, I said. Each refinancing pulled significant equity from the property. The total amount withdrawn was $410,000. The judge reviewed the papers. "And these refinancing agreements bear your signature, Miss Marsh?" "They appear to, Your Honor. But I never signed them. I never saw them. I never authorized them. I never even knew about them." The courtroom got quiet. "I'd like to submit Exhibit B," I continued. "These are samples of my actual signature, from our original mortgage, from my nursing license renewal, and from our tax returns. I'm requesting that the court compare these with the signatures on the refinancing documents." The judge held the pages side by side. Even from across the room, the difference was visible. The forged signatures were close, but they leaned differently. The loops were wrong, and one of them misspelled my middle name. Anne, with an E. My middle name is Anne. No E. My husband never could remember that. "Mr. Haynes," the judge said, "were you aware of these refinancing transactions?" Victor Haynes stood, and for the first time, he didn't look polished. He looked caught. "Your Honor, my client's financial disclosures were prepared by his accountant. I was not involved in." I'll rephrase. "Were these transactions disclosed in your client's financial affidavit to this court?" Silence. "Mr. Haynes?" "They were not, Your Honor." The judge removed her glasses. That's when I knew the temperature in the room had changed. "Ms. Marsh, please continue." "Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to submit Exhibit CA, the Articles of Incorporation for Pinnacle South Holdings, LLC, registered in the state of North Carolina. The listed members are my husband and a woman named Jade Calloway." My husband's face went white. Not pale. White. Like someone had drained the blood from it with a syringe. "The $410,000 extracted from our jointly owned home was transferred to this LLC," I said. "I have the bank records showing each transfer. I also have records showing that Ms. Billy Calloway has been listed as a paid consultant on my husband's real estate projects for the past 2 years, despite having no background in real estate. She has a degree in hospitality management." A murmur rippled through the gallery. "Furthermore," I said, "my husband reported his annual income to this court as $190,000. His actual income, based on his firm's internal profit-sharing statements, which I also have, was approximately $340,000 last year. He underreported his income by nearly half." Victor Haynes was on his feet. "Your Honor, these documents haven't been authenticated and the respondent is making serious allegations, Mr. Haynes." The judge's voice was flat and final. "Your client filed a financial affidavit with this court. Under oath. Are you now suggesting that affidavit may contain inaccuracies?" He didn't answer. "Because if so, that's not a discovery issue. That's perjury." The word hung in the air like a blade. I submitted the rest of my exhibits, the bank transfers, the profit-sharing statements, the photos from social media showing my husband and Jade Calloway on vacation during his supposed business trips, the screenshot of the Bahamas resort, with the geotag and the date. During the same week, he told me he was at a conference in Atlanta. My husband stared straight ahead. He didn't look at me. He didn't look at his lawyer. He looked at the table in front of him like he was trying to disappear into the wood grain. The judge called a recess. 20 minutes. I went to the hallway and drank water from a fountain. My hands were steady. I expected them to shake, but they didn't. When we reconvened, the judge spoke directly to my husband. Mr. Marsh, I'm going to be very clear. The evidence presented today suggests multiple potential violations: forged signatures on legal documents, concealment of marital assets, underreporting of income under oath, and possible mortgage fraud. Any one of these would be sufficient cause for sanctions. Together, they present a pattern that this court takes extremely seriously. My husband's lawyer tried to intervene. Your Honor, my client is prepared to negotiate a more equitable, Mr. Haynes. Your client swore under oath that his financial disclosures were complete and accurate. Based on the evidence I've seen today, that appears to be false. I'm referring this matter to the District Attorney's Office for review. I'm also issuing a temporary order granting Ms. Marsh exclusive possession of the marital residence and freezing all accounts associated with Pinnacle South Holdings, LLC, pending further investigation. My husband finally looked at me. Not with anger. Not with anger. Not with arrogance. With fear. Additionally, the judge continued, I'm awarding Ms. Marsh temporary spousal support and ordering Mr. Marsh to pay her reasonable attorney's fees, or in this case the costs associated with her self-representation, including research materials and document preparation. Mr. Reisacalt, Haynes, I'd strongly advise your client to retain criminal counsel before our next hearing. Victor Haynes looked like a man who'd just watched his career take a wrong turn. He nodded once, stiffly, and sat down without another word. The hearing ended. I gathered my binder, capped my pen, and pushed in my chair. My husband sat motionless at the petitioner's table. His lawyer was whispering to him rapidly, but he wasn't listening. He was staring at the wall. I walked down the center aisle of the courtroom. Someone in the gallery, a woman I didn't know, caught my eye and gave me a small nod. I nodded back. In the hallway I called Adrian. How did it go? She asked. I need you to help me change the locks, I said. She laughed, then cried, then laughed again. I drove home, to my home, the one with the magnolia tree and the wraparound porch, and I parked in the driveway. The boxes were gone. The tarp was gone. The only thing left was a damp spot on the concrete where the cardboard had been. I used my old key, the one that didn't work 6 weeks ago, and remembered that I'd need to call a locksmith. Tomorrow. Tonight, I just wanted to sit on my own couch, in my own living room, and breathe. 3 weeks later, the district attorney's office opened a formal investigation into my husband's finances. Pinnacle South Holdings was audited. Jade Calloway's consulting payments were flagged as potential money laundering. My husband was charged with forgery, fraud, and perjury. His mother called me the day after the charges were filed. This is your fault, she said. You destroyed this family. No, Gloria, I said. Your son destroyed this family the day he decided to forge my name and steal our home. I just brought the paperwork. She hung up. I didn't call back. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. I was awarded the house outright, 60% of the remaining marital assets, and full restitution for the equity he'd stolen. His real estate license was suspended. Victor Haynes quietly withdrew from the case midway through, citing professional differences with his client. I went back to work the day after the final decree. 12-hour shift, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. On my break, I sat in the hospital cafeteria and ate a turkey sandwich. And I thought about the woman in the gallery who'd nodded at me. I never found out who she was. But I think she understood something that my husband never did. I didn't need a lawyer to know my own worth. I did not yell back. 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 Non-swermenstau. If you're watching this and you're going through something similar, if someone is telling you that you can't fight back, that you don't know enough, that you're not smart enough to understand, I want you to hear me clearly. You are enough. You have always been enough. Document everything. Save every receipt, every email, every screenshot. Organize it. Back it up. And when the time comes, walk into that room with your head high and your facts straight. Nobody gets to tell you what you can't afford. If this story meant something to you, hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below. I read every single one. Share this with someone who needs to hear it tonight. And remember, sometimes the quietest person in the room has the loudest evidence. I'll see you in the next one.